Hello, Mike.
Hi.
From Jesus Jones, how's it going?
Yeah, really well, thanks. Very good. Great.
We're in Nottingham at the Rescue Rooms. How are you feeling?
Actually feeling really good,
Okay.
which is unusual on the tour.
All right.
He said, I mean, admittedly, it's only second date in, so there's plenty of time for things to go downhill badly.
Yeah.
But really good. Yes.
Okay.
Very excited about it.
Where were you last? Where did you just play?
Actually, third date on the tour, yeah. We were in Bristol last night, and then we played at the Butlins camp in Minehead.
Right.
On Sunday, in a festival. It was actually really good. It sounds like it might not be, but a couple of thousand people, huge venue, really good sound and lights. It was great.
So you're feeling pretty positive about this show then?
Yeah, very.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. These days, I kind of get increasingly worried about my voice. It kind of doesn't seem to be as reliable and dependable as it used to be.
Okay, yeah.
So I was particularly nervous last night. I got on stage and sang the hell out of it. So, at the same time, played incredibly badly too. So tonight, I'm hoping I get both things, both sing and play. That'll be a real bonus.
So, why do you think it's so difficult to balance that out for you? Is it really quite a conscious thing on your mind? Because I mean, before this sort of comeback tour kind of thing, it's been a while really, hasn't it? So is that a thing that did play on the back of your mind before saying, okay, let's go on tour again?
Well, if you're talking about the voice, no, that's always been there. From the very beginning, I did shows kind of in the early days where I'd lose my voice and you think you kind of got it sussed, and then there'd be another show where for some inexplicable reason. The thing is, it's such a fragile thing, the human voice. It's not something, if you play guitar, really simple, get it out, it works. Doesn't get another one. Voice, it's different. And I think most singers, from what I gather, in my experience and from what I've heard, tend to be really paranoid about their voices, just because it is so fragile, and you can't really determine how it's going to be. You can't dictate how it's going to be.
Well, in this age of, I say in this age, I'm sure it's been happening for a long time, but the kind of lip syncing, do you think voice matters as much as it used to? Because people like Morrissey and David Bowie, they've got distinctive voices, fantastic voices, and they could sing, but it's like there is this culture sometimes of lip syncing and not actually being able to sing. It's more of the image. So what's your opinion on that? Do you think there is more of that?
I'm going to disagree with you, actually.
Okay.
To some extent. I think that I agree 100% that people like Morrissey, David Bowie, so many people from the past have distinctive voices. That's why we remember them. But actually, I think in all ways within music, the level of technical ability from guitarists to singers has got so much better. You get so many amazingly good singers. If you look at kind of X Factor people, The Voice. I mean, these are shows that I really dislike, but nonetheless, the quality of the singing is absolutely fantastic. There are superb singers out there. Okay, so I think that the technical ability of singers and guitarists, songwriters, everything is so much better. I mean, I think things were a lot shonkier in my day, and I would also say that I've done an awful lot of lip syncing in my time as well. I mean, Top of the Pops, all the music TV shows all over the world, they were always about lip syncing. What I would say is I'm not sure you hear as many distinctive voices these days, and that way I agree with you. I don't think there are. You get these people who think, wow, that's a really interesting voice, or you do, and then you get so many people who come out and sound exactly like them afterwards that it kind of gets lost. And now I can't remember some of the names, but I just kind of think, is that woman I heard from 6 months ago? And it's not. And then the next person sounds just like it as well.
I agree with you completely on that. I've had conversations about that recently. Let's talk about Jesus Jones then. So, as I said earlier, you're back.
Yeah.
What's the deal with it? Because you've released some new music this year, haven't you? How was that received, and what's happening next?
Well, the thing is, what people don't understand is that from the mid-90s onwards, we found it increasingly hard to get any kind of media representation.
Okay.
I mean, that people would say, why aren't you guys? Why don't we hear from you guys anymore? And as if we'd done something. What it was is we just couldn't get interviews. There was a kind of feeling in the press that's it. You've had your day, and we're not going to bother interview you. And against that, it's quite hard to get people to realise you're out there. We have had since then. We've done less and less. In the last few years, we've done quite a bit of touring. I mean, we toured Australia and been to Japan and stuff like that. We did a tour of America in 2003 or 4 or something like that. But yes, there have been big gaps and we haven't done anything. Really what's been happening is that there's been kind of fallout after our career where we just let dust settle and then gradually kind of come back together and started doing more and more and more.
Okay,
and now it's kind of building up a head of steam. It's got to the point where we are starting to, you release something, it gets exciting, so you think, well, let's do some more. And then you get stuff like this PledgeMusic campaign that we're doing, you think, okay, well, we should do an album. And this is our second UK tour in a year, and just the more you do, the more exciting it becomes, the more you want to do. And I think that's what it is. It's just kind of something that feeds on itself.
Talk to me about the PledgeMusic campaign, because you'll have fans watching this video. Sort of like, tell me about that. So you say because of the media representation from like the mid-90s onwards was difficult. Yeah. Why are you doing it? What's it for? Yeah. Tell me about the campaign.
Well, the PledgeMusic thing, for me, there are a few aspects about it. I think most importantly is it gets us out to a wider audience, because we can do all the social media stuff that we like, Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, all that kind of stuff. But it's generally for people who already know about us. So it doesn't really widen things anymore. I think when you get into something like PledgeMusic, it does make it wider, and you can get out to more people. So that's very important. The funding is important as well, because everything that we do these days, without a record company, without someone to put thousands of pounds behind you, you've still got to make records, and that's a time-consuming and can be quite a costly process, depending how you do it. Although things are a lot more DIY. So I think for me, really, it's a wider reach, and it's also actually making it financially possible, which is, as you and I were talking about before the camera started rolling, the financial possibility is something that's crucial in music today. It's a very difficult obstacle for many bands.
And you mentioned again, while the cameras are off, which is inconvenient, but back then it was easier to sort of make a living of that. Where, back when, because you had a #1 album back then, and you were on Top of the Pops, and it was quite a big thing. So what's the difference, and how? I haven't worded this correctly, but what is it like? Is it slightly disheartening that now, you can put as much effort, and you might think that these songs that you're making writing now are better than those songs that you made back then? Yeah. Well, how does that feel? Is it not slightly?
I don't mind about how things go for us, because we've had our time in the sun, and that's absolutely fine. We have other things going on in our lives as well, or our lives are wider. Certainly when I was in my early 20s, making music was the only thing in my life. That's all, the only thing, the most important thing. And other things, barely even mattered. And I think that obsession, allied with having what's effectively a patron of the arts, when a record company comes along and says, we believe in what you do, we're going to give you a living here. You needn't do anything else but music. So the twin things of the obsession about music and having the financial ability and the time and space to make that music meant that's a perfect situation, I think, to make really good music. What worries me now for younger musicians is that they can have the obsession, but not the time to experiment and grow with their music, to take it into different places. It bothers me because I'm tempted to kind of think, I don't think that's a good thing for music, but at the same time I do hear a lot of really, really interesting music now. I'm having difficulty marrying those two lines of thought up, because they seem to me to be kind of contradictory.
Tell me about 1991 was when you had the #1 album, and you had a few sort of big hits in the charts and stuff. What was that like at the time? How did that feel? Because you said you had your time in the sun. What was the time in the sun like?
It was absolutely fantastic. It was, if you obviously know a little bit about kind of music from the past, if you read biographies, look at the heyday of rock music in the 60s, 70s, 80s. It was pretty extreme in a really good way. It was all the stories that you've ever read. It was all sex and drugs and rock and roll. It was absolutely fantastic. It was. The rest of the band were much more the sex and drugs and rock and roll. I tend to focus more on the rock and roll element. I loved it. It was everything that I'd aimed for over half my life at that point. Something I dreamt about as a teenager. It's just, when you focus on something, you be obsessive about something, and it comes true. and it's actually probably better than you imagined. It was an amazing thing. It was wonderful. I'm glad that I did it. No regrets about that at all.
So if you dreamt it, did you think that it would maybe never happen? Did you look for that when you became a band? Did you ever think we could make it big here? You know, did that ever cross your mind, or were you happy to just write music, play music, hope people liked it?
No, I was always. Hang on a second. I think I always had this thing. I had a huge amount of drive, a huge amount of ambition, and it was. I can't imagine what I based it on, but I felt convinced that we had the right stuff, despite being shown over and over and over again. No, you probably haven't got it. You're probably not good enough. But I never listened to that kind of stuff. In retrospect, then when I think about it, I mean, we've been trying for 6 years since I left school, and nothing had happened. And I think I was getting to the point where I started to relax into my kind of fairly crappy job that paid all right, and I was getting used to my life as it was. And I wonder if things hadn't gone the way they had, whether in 6 months or a year's time it was a dream that would have died. But the moment it picked up a bit of speed, the moment we had interest shown in us by a record company, that's all it took for me to think, yeah, we deserve everything at this point. We should have hit singles, we should have them number one in America, we should be doing world tours. The moment I had any kind of positive feedback, I thought, yeah, that's it, I was right, I'm convinced.
And so when that died down slightly, how did you feel then? Did you kind of think, well, it is temporary? Or did you think, well, no, because this will live on? Because if you've got fans out there that enjoyed your music, then they're going to enjoy that for a long time. They're still going to enjoy it now.
Well, in the back of my mind, I was thinking it's temporary, and sometimes I used to video stuff all the time, just thinking this could be the only chance you get. At the same time, if you think that you've deserved all the success you've got, you also have the mindset that thinks that it'll continue forever and ever. And it was really crushing, I think, over a period of years, kind of 3, 4, 5 years. I gradually adapted to it, but that there were points when it was apparent it would never be the same again, and that was profoundly disturbing in the way that I kind of have dreams about it. It was very depressing to have all that and lose it. Wasn't good, but other things have come along since that have been good, made up for it.
Now let's talk slightly more generally. Would you ever? I mean, there's a lot of reality TV these days. Yeah. Would you ever consider going on Big Brother or Strictly Come Dancing or I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here?
Not the slightest.
Not at all.
I'm not interested in the kind of money they'd offer, and I think the kind of publicity that we as a band would get would be self-defeating. I have no interest in fame for fame's sake whatsoever. I would turn it down. Not interested in the slightest.
And what do you think about modern music? Because there's obviously the charts, which are now based, as we were saying earlier, largely on streaming, but there's a lot of alternative stuff. I personally think it's the rise of sort of what happens in a lot of decades. The 80s you had the Smiths sort of rising through, the 90s you had and Oasis, and it's kind of rising through, and then the noughties was like the Arctic Monkeys. So do you think maybe that is kind of coming in? Do you hear stuff that you kind of makes you maybe even reminiscent of like this is the alternative scene?
Yes, I do. I hear loads of fantastic music, really, really good music. I don't really listen to bands. I have no idea who's in the charts. I don't listen to it at all. It all comes off curated playlists for me. And I just hear loads of really exciting music. In the usual kind of way. I mean, I didn't listen. Kind of from about 1991 onwards, I didn't really listen to rock music. And when we got to the middle of the 90s, I thought that was one of the worst periods for rock music that I had ever known. That I was aware of. It was a dreadful time. It was incredibly retrospective, very backwards looking, totally lacking any kind of artistic invention, any progression, and I hear a lot of that in modern music. What we used to refer to as kind of dance-based stuff. I mean, I suppose it was drum and bass at the end of the 90s, which gradually kind of morphed for me into kind of grime, and then dubstep, and now trap. I think is really exciting. I actually don't know all the categories. I just hear songs or hear bits of music. I think That's fantastic.
Mm.
And I remember I used to go to techno clubs at the start of the 90s and used to be there in the dance floor and think, I've never heard anything like this before. And I'm still getting that now. There was a period when I thought, yeah, I've heard this loads of times before. And now, yeah, I think there's so much really exciting, inventive music. The technology is there to allow it to happen. And it's a time where people are actually embracing that. And I'm hearing lots of sounds. I think, how the hell did you make that? You know, how do you get a voice to sound like that? What kind of instrument is that? It can become very techy, but you know, then if it gets too techy, you're not interested. But I think it's an amazing time for music. Loads of really inventive stuff. But if we're talking about bands, I have no idea.
Now, one question I ask to most of the people I interview, especially musical people, is it's quite simply, who is your favourite musician of all time? as you know, as the leader of Jesus Jones, as you as a person, who is the pinnacle of music for you?
I could never pin it down to one person because I always find flaws. I mean, we talked about David Bowie. I think David Bowie is a fantastic innovator and an astonishing songwriter. But for me, there's always an element of kind of musicals about him.
Right.
You know, it was just a little bit clever and a little bit maybe too arty for me. Whereas I could look at, say, Malcolm Young from AC/DC and just think, you know, what an incredible style, what a kind of genre-defining style of guitar playing he had, and the songwriting they had was genre-defining. And yet, you know, like maybe a fourth chord, maybe not. Okay. I can look at guitarists like Andy Summers from the Police, and I can think there's a song called "Bring On the Night" by the Police, and Sting has obviously given him 3 chords, and they're really basic, you know, kind of boring chords. And he's come up with this just astonishing flamenco-style guitar part, and you think, how did you dream of that? That's just incredible. So there are all these kinds of people, and like, you know, Jimi Hendrix is a guitarist. What singers can I think of? Loads of Arabic singers, actually. There's probably not much point bringing those up. I can't pin it down to one person. Okay. Because I can always see there's not so much flaws, but I can't believe in them totally.
Well, Mike, it's been lovely to speak to you. Have a great show and a great tour.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.